Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Lauren Catalano. I'm the D&H Microsoft U.S. Commercial Ambassador. I'm here today to talk to you about the advantages and the benefits of using the Microsoft Autopilot device for all of your new deployment needs. Now, one of the things I'd like to go over is why Autopilot? Well, first, it's fast and efficient. For anybody who's been around long enough, you remember the old school version of doing imaging. It was expensive, it was time consuming, and it was tedious. With Autopilot, it's fast and efficient. The setup time is approximately 15 minutes to device versus imaging that would have previously taken up to 4 hours. D&H has a integration center that has a 300 unit bench capacity that can accommodate all of your new device deployment needs. From cost savings, you're looking at savings as much as up to 83% depending on the depth and how much applications and needs that you're doing with imaging versus doing Autopilot. So it's significantly more cost effective, and it's also much faster. From a user experience, we like to provide a more positive, consistent, out-of-the-box experience for new employees regardless of the device. So when you do get the Autopilot service on those new devices, by the time that the endpoint user receives that device, they can log in with their credentials, they get into the system. After a few minutes of boot time for the first run, they have all of their applications ready to go. There's no need to have anybody do anything on-prem. Once it's set remotely, those new hires are ready to work. As far as management, it's seamless. You can combine it with your Microsoft Intune product to manage all of those new devices. So when you're running Autopilot through your M365 subscription, any device management, whether you're doing patches and updates, or there might be some new software that you'd like to use, that can be managed right through Intune. Now, 3 things I want to give you peace of mind. When we're loading into the Autopilot tenant, we're just depositing the system information for the devices you purchased. So we send you a link. It does not impact your CSP contract. All that link does is allow us access and ability to upload your system information into the tenant. Nobody sees any other information or any other devices. It's really a data deposit. Second thing is it doesn't provide D&H any delegated administrative privileges. Again, we're depositing the information in there, we're uploading it into the group if necessary, but we don't get to make any changes into any administrative. And finally, we don't have any admin rights. So there's nothing to worry about with granting D&H the ability of uploading into your, or in most parts, your end user or customer tenants. We've done tens of thousands every year. We've never had a security or a data breach or anything that was a negative impact to anybody's tenants. Now, with Autopilot, just some things I think you should know. Now, if you're not familiar with Autopilot, it really had a big boom back during COVID, where it's an electronic means of deploying all new Microsoft Pro and educational devices into an end user's Microsoft Cloud tenant. So again, you don't need to do on-prem. You're not having somebody from IT sitting over somebody for a couple of hours, setting up that new device, asking for the password multiple times. All right, as far as D&H, we've worked very hard over the last couple of years that we have streamlined our process that exceeds that of other distributors within the channel. We use a cloud-based service, so there's no need that it has to go to, you have to ship inventory to a centralized warehouse for all of those devices to be worked, unopened, booted up, running the script. Ours, because of the way we do it, it doesn't matter where it ships from. Once you send the PO over to D&H, your team enters the order and it goes directly into our workflow management system. Now, once the device ships and D&H scans the serial numbers and we load into the end user's tenant, there is no need for you to have to do any tedious, lengthy 12-page PDF where you've got to go through all of the services, and there's no need to do any kind of an Excel form for anything that's got to get shipped to a warehouse. With D&H, all we do is send out an intake link that really already has all of the information from your order, has all of that in it. All the reseller needs to do is fill out that link, give us the tenant and the domain information, and then who the reseller contact is. We're not asking for the end user contact. We always ask for the reseller contact because if there's ever a question or an issue, we speak to the reseller. And finally, as I mentioned a couple moments ago, there's no need to do on-premise or open box, especially for the basic autopilot service. So again, it doesn't matter if it ships from any one of our warehouses around the country. It doesn't matter if it's a CTO that maybe you had a custom build by a vendor such as Lenovo or HP or Dell. It might even be a device that you already had sitting on your warehouse that you purchased and then at a later date wanted to deploy to a customer. We can do it with that. If there's inventory that we don't have, but you had to purchase elsewhere, all you gotta do is send us the PO. We can give us an Excel spreadsheet with the manufacturer part number and the serial numbers, and we can do it just like it came out of our own warehouse. All you need to do is have your end user assign the user profile to that device. Now, how does it work? Well, first thing we're going to do is send out that link that is going to go to your end user, and whoever the global admin is for that end user customer, that person will need to click on the link. They'll pop it open. It takes them just a matter of seconds to do. Within 5 minutes, Microsoft's database will have it uploaded, and D&H will have visibility that we've been granted access. That said, when you do have your end user customer grant us tenant access, if you could just send us an email confirmation that it has been done just so that we have that as well, it's very convenient and it does speed up the process for us to be able to upload those devices on your behalf. Now, this next step you need to do is make sure the profile is complete. So anytime we do any uploads, and one thing that can be very tedious for some people is when they do have the end user profile of whoever's getting that device, meaning, management might have a profile, salespeople might have a profile. If it's a school, you might have a student profile. So whatever profile is going to be done to that device, make sure that it's completed out. If somebody is ever getting the full provisioning or our white glove service where you have a more turnkey solution necessary, where you're having us install software, that is done through our warehouse, and any patches and updates and any software that your customer needs would also have to be part of that user profile. After that profile is complete, and the invitation for D&H, that'll just get out to you, grants us the tenant access, and we'll be ready to go. Once the device is uploaded into the tenant, D&H does 3 uploads per day. So there's no need to be concerned if it didn't get done in the morning and you're waiting a whole nother business day. Our team is very thorough. We do an upload in the morning, we do a batch in the afternoon, and they're always doing a batch usually around 8, 9 o'clock at night for anything else that came in later in the day. And once those devices are uploaded into the tenant, we will send you a real-time confirmation to the reseller. And this way you know that it has been completed and you can notify your customer that it's been loaded as well. Now I've put this slide together and I'll share this deck with everybody. So if you want to go through it or you have any questions, you can always reach out to me. This has all of the SKUs. Now the first SKU you see here, that is the one that we probably do about 99% of the time. It's basic autopilot. We upload the system information into your end user's customer tenant. Oftentimes they'll see it as it's been uploaded into a group. Again, this particular service, it doesn't matter where it ships from. We don't need to touch it. We don't need to open the box or run a script. For basic commercial customers, we only charge $4 per device. And if you have any K through 12 customers or nonprofit that the device is going to, we only charge $3 per device. Now, some of you in the past may have had situations where you were looking for a CSV file. We do provide that. However, we only at this time do it for HP and Microsoft Surface devices. And the price on that is $6 per device. If you're not familiar with that service, more often than not, that's common with anybody who's got a regulated industry, such as government, defense, or research contractors. or banking or healthcare, where they're very, very difficult with anybody getting their tenant. So they might just want to have the information and do it themselves. If you want to do it with the CSV file, we can do that for you, and we'll send you an Excel spreadsheet that'll have all the information for you, in which turn you can provide to your end use customer. The final service that you see is the MSAP provision. That is what, whether you want to call it white glove, you want to call it full service, that's the service that if your customer needs a more turnkey, out-of-the-box experience, that we could do that. Now, that is done through our Harrisburg warehouse. So any inventory, we'd order out of the Harrisburg warehouse. If we didn't have enough inventory in that particular warehouse, D&H is the only distributor that we will transfer the inventory from our other warehouses to Harrisburg at no additional cost to the reseller. We're the only distributor that does that. There's no additional charge, and we're not going to make you wait days or weeks for the inventory to be available. We will do everything possible to get that completed. For that service, we do tell people that is a 10 business day lead time. And because for that service, we are literally having to open up the box, boot it, run the script, because we are also installing a lot of software or patches or updates. So it's a little bit lengthier time. But with a 300 unit bench capacity, we can do all of those larger projects for you. If you ever have a situation that you want to do some in-house, but you want to partner with us, D&H is also willing to accommodate anyone with that. Now below, I just put a couple of examples so that you understand when it says the domain. It's really email domain, plain and simple. When you're looking for the Microsoft tenant address, you can either use the onmicrosoft.com, or if you want to use the long alphanumeric address, either one of those is acceptable. All right. On that intake link, our pro services team will forward that to your inside sales representative, and they need to forward that on to you, the reseller, because they'll know who the contact is. The sooner you get that intake form completed, the faster we will have the information we need to be able to upload that system information and complete the autopilot process. Now, again, the contact is always the reseller. We will never speak to your end user customer without the reseller being on the phone at the same time. If that link is not completed, whether it's the link that grants D&H tenant access, or if it is the intake link requiring the information we need to upload into the tenant, if either one of those are not completed, it will cause a delay in completing the autopilot service, and it won't be done until we have all of the information that we need. Now, a bit of a call to action, and just to help every one of our resellers drive more opportunities. Microsoft has a very strong initiative of getting these devices into the tenants, and we want to work with everybody so that they understand that it is easy to manage. Again, a lot of resellers are used to the old school format of imaging or doing it themselves. And I've modeled this out 100 different ways. Allowing D&H to do the service for you is going to save you time on your resources, and it's going to be far more profitable. So every device opportunity that you are talking to your customers about is an opportunity for autopilot. Whether it's commercial or it's educational, we can do all of those. Usually, more often than not, you've got a smaller customer, let's say an SMB who doesn't have a tenant, that might be a bit tougher. But for most other organizations, they have a Microsoft tenant that they're managing all of their devices and all of their software through. Second thing is utilize D&H's experience. I don't expect resellers to be able to understand or convey all the knowledge I have from doing autopilot to every one of their customers. So if you ever want to get me on a call with one of your customers, or you need to reach out to me and you've got some questions, please email me, contact me, call me, tell me you need me on a call with one of your end users. I'm happy to do so. One of the things we've come across is training. It's great when I have an opportunity to speak to a reseller and I've trained that individual, but in the bigger picture, I like doing the trainings where I've got an entire sales organization on. Because if one person has it and 3 people don't, it's not going to be the greatest success of result. So if you have a sales team, I'm always available for training. We do not charge for that. I can train your entire sales team. Any questions you want, let me know. Or if you want to reach out to your field representative, they can help coordinate that for you as well. And finally, when it comes to any educational or commercial or a total refresh, let us help with your strategy. I've dealt with a lot of customers who they'll have an end user who has a lot of devices. And some of those might be in a tenant, some of those may not be. They're in a process of saying, look, we're trying to transition. We were on-prem or we were hybrid, and now we're going to full cloud. And we want to be able to swap out some of our older devices, but we want to minimize downtime so that the employees or the people in the school don't have a downtime without a device. If you have any situations or questions like that, please reach out to me. We've got several examples of customers that we've done this with, that we were able to do that transition with minimum downtime. Now, just some final thoughts, and I want everyone to keep this in mind. Autopilot will reduce deployment time by as much as up to 83% versus imaging. All right, so again, when you've got a large deployment or you've got an organization with minimal IT infrastructure or resources to be able to set that up, Autopilot is going to be significantly faster. If it's a reseller doing a few of the devices or it's coming to D&H because you've got 100 or 500 or 1,000 plus, we can do all of that. All right. Offering Autopilot does provide your customers a turnkey endpoint solution for your customers so that when they are getting those new hires or you've got somebody on-prem, they can log in with their credentials that are assigned to them and it's turnkey out of the box. All they really got to do is back up their old devices, transfer any files they have to the new device, and then pull the old device out of the tenant. One thing that we've noticed is sometimes when people do replace older devices out of a tenant, they're not removing it from the tenant and they're not removing the 365 subscription. Don't want to see anybody get double charged on that, and it is something that can be an oversight. It's a value add service for any of your organizations where their IT system, again, limited staffing or limited resources. That lets them focus on the priority tasks like a network being down or websites being down or other problems. This is something that D&H can work together with you on and just take that off the list. Now, 4, this is something that especially for many of you that are focused on sales, if you're not offering Autopilot, I can promise you your competition is. All right? The channel is recognizing that we are transitioning from the old school way where somebody was setting up the devices, taking a couple of hours, and now we're doing it remotely. And again, our process, it's cloud-based. None of us even have to touch it. The cloud-based no touch on any Microsoft, again, whether it's stock, it's CTO, if it was purchased and it's on a shelf, or again, it does happen. We don't have inventory, and you said, look, I had to get this elsewhere. Fine. Send us the PO for the Autopilot. Give us the manufacturer part number and the serial numbers in an Excel spreadsheet. We can load it all just like it came out of our own warehouse. Our process, because we are cloud-based and because there's no centralized need, 22% of our overall Autopilot business is on devices coming elsewhere. So let us partner with you and make this easy. And finally, and this again, within any organization, it's very competitive when you're selling devices that, oftentimes they look, oh, so-and-so is selling it for this price, and it can be tough. Adding Autopilot is going to grant you a 50% margin opportunity that you can use to boost profitability on low margin competitive opportunities. So this will allow you to provide a turnkey solution without pricing yourself out of line with what the competition or other people are competing against. I don't have a sample of the form on me. What it is it is a link that is from our ProServe integration team, and it is a link specific to your order. This is a question from Bob Thomas. Excuse me. That link is unique to your order that we put in the system, Bob. So when we send you the link, it'll basically be a recap of the order. If you'd like, I could see what I could do afterwards and put something together for you so that you can see the link. It'll have all your order information, what you ordered, where it's shipping to. And then on that form, you really just need to give us the tenant, the domain, and the reseller contact. Let's see here. Jose, regarding your question as far as with any bloatware, that is something that comes from the manufacturer. So it's not something we really do. We don't mess around with any factory settings. So if it does come with bloatware, we do not make any change on that. And that is why some customers will still do imaging over Autopilot, because with the imaging, you can customize that operating system to have just what you want, meaning the meat and the potatoes, and you can still do the Autopilot afterwards. You just have to do a slightly different process for it to do that. So it would be an imaging and then the Autopilot service. Scott Schuster, the final option as far as the $12 per month. No, those fees that you all saw, those were all a one-time service fee. So whether it's the basic Autopilot for $3 or $4, depending if it's commercial or education, or if it's the CSV, or even the white glove service that was $12, those are all one-time fees. Once we do it, that is it. So whether you're, let's say you've got a Windows 11 device and you had it for one employee, that employee leaves the company, and then you refresh it for another new hire. There's no additional charges. It's in your tenant. All you need to do is reassign the user for that so that they can use that system. So it's a one-time fee, not a monthly fee, because Autopilot attaches to your M365 subscription that you're already getting monthly. So you're good with that. Can Intune help with the imaging? That's a little bit different. I'd probably bring one of our techs on for that. We really wouldn't be doing imaging after the fact, but what I can do is put, Scott, if you do have somebody, I can put you together with them, and we can go over the need for that. That's kind of like doing two different things for the same result. Andrew, your question regarding Autopilot services, is it available only for HP or Microsoft Surface? No, Autopilot is available for every Windows device as long as it is a commercial, meaning Microsoft Windows Pro, or it's for an educational device. It's on all of those devices. When I said the service only for HP and Microsoft Surface, that was referring to a customer who needed a CSV file, which is the long alphanumeric number that we send in a CSV. That would be for a government institution, might be a defense contractor, or a regulated industry like banking or healthcare. So that was who I said it was limited for. The reason that we do it for the HP and Microsoft is because, one, our priority is to give you a positive experience. Those two vendors, it is very fast for us to get the information. Second reason is those two vendors also do not charge us a lot of money to provide us that information, which allows us to pass on the savings to the reseller, which then goes to the end user. With other vendors, again, it was either we couldn't get the information we needed in a timely manner, and there's nothing more frustrating for you as a reseller than your customer calling you up, hey, I don't see it, it's not in there yet. So we didn't want to cause any delays with that. Or previous to when we were doing it this way, for a couple of the vendors wanted with the CSV, it was $15 per device, extremely expensive. So rather than offering a negative experience or a costly service that really wasn't advantageous for the reseller or for the end user, we chose to strip down the services that we can offer that provide a positive customer experience. Let's see, Brian. So Brian, if you warehouse devices, this is for Brian Quinn. If you warehouse devices for your customers, and then let's say you sell it to say ABC Manufacturing, and you want to load it to their tenant, and you already purchased it, not a problem. All you need to do is send your inside sales team a PO, like you would with anything else, and just give us the Excel spreadsheet with the manufacturer part number and the serial number. That's all we would need for that. Let me see what else we got here. Let's see here. Sorry, accident bumped up. Does Autopilot integrate with an on-premise domain controller authentication? Bill, for that question, I would probably bring on one of our tech engineers to do that with you. And if you'd like to schedule a call, please shoot me an email and I'll get an engineer on with us and we can go over what your current setup is to better answer your question. Bob Thomas, it doesn't matter if you bought it directly from Lenovo. Any device you get as a CTO from a manufacturer, we can still do it. If you did it through us and you do the Autopilot, that's fine. Our team is always checking the orders to see what ships. Once the order ships from the manufacturer, then we are able to get the serial number information we need to complete the Autopilot process. So if we, like I said, we check it daily for anything that would have shipped. If a reseller says, hey, I checked it and it shipped, let me know. I'll notify our ProServe team that we're confirmed it shipped, and we'll get that loaded up for you. John LeMay, regarding the question about the DNH access to import the computer hashes. If it's the CSV hash, you don't need to grant us the tenant access because we're not actually uploading anything. So I apologize for the confusion on that one. If the reseller is uploading the devices themselves with the CSV, they do not need to do the tenant access because we're not uploading it. So you're okay with that. Dean Rustick, does Autopilot handle installing third-party applications or web-based applications? Autopilot is about deploying the device. Intune is about how you manage the device and how you deploy the new software patches and updates. So any software, whether it's something that you have a license subscription for, or it's a patch or an update from any manufacturer, or it might even be software that you created homegrown, that could be deployed through Intune. The admin would be able to do that. Bill Ross, my email is lcatalano@dnh.com. It's also on the first page of the slide deck that I'll make available to everybody should you need to contact me. All right, so Brian Quinn asking about the image. That would be something, the imaging would be coordinated with our ProServe integration team, and they would work together with you on that. That's separate from Autopilot. So I'd let them better answer the imaging side of that. If you'd like to set up a call with me, and I can put on, and we'll do a call with someone on our one of the engineers, we can do that. And this way they could better answer those questions. Abdul, are there any major security implications with the autopilot load? In the tens of thousands of uploads that we have performed, we have never had a security breach. The process of uploading those devices into somebody's tenant is a Microsoft process, which has it secured. It isn't something that just anybody can do. Besides a few of your key distributors and a couple of NSP customers, it's not something everybody's doing. So I can tell you from the experience, we've never had a breach or any security issues on any of the devices we've ever done. Abdul, your other question is the difference between autopilot loading on a new machine and a refresh on an existing machine. There is no difference. Whether if it's a brand new machine that we're uploading into a tenant, or let's say you purchased that Windows 10 device in the past and you want to load it. Now keep in mind, and the reason I bring this up is there are still people running Windows 10 devices. You can do it and you can upload it into a tenant. I just want to keep you reminded that on October 14th of next year, Windows will become end of support. All right. Now you can get you can purchase an annual subscription to buy some time on that. But I can tell you in the last 2 years, Microsoft has not done any major updates for Windows 10. And any of the patches and updates that you're typically used to seeing for performance improvements, those will not be done at all. So buying time on a Windows 10 machine or buying a subscription isn't really going to benefit you on saving a lot of time. Bob Thomas, what level of M365 is required for autopilot? As long as you have an E3 or E5 or A3 or A5 subscription, you can do it. The only thing you can't do is if you've got boxed product of Office, where it's the perpetual software, that's where you're not able to do it. Rodney, if the customer wants to stay hybrid, it depends on how they're set up. We have done some autopilot with a hybrid customer in the past, but it depends on how their overall system is set up. I would defer that call to a tech engineer. If you want to shoot me an email and I can schedule that for you, I'd be happy to do so. Just for a better understanding, again, my email is lcatalano@dnh.com. Richard, you're already using autopilot to deploy multiple customers and tenants. What benefit? Well, if you're already doing it, I'm sure you already see the benefits that you are getting with the service. The difference I think that you might be trying to ask with your question is what benefit is it for D&H to do it? And from that, what I can say is, again, with the 300 device bench capacity, we can do it. We can do far more devices, far faster and more efficient. I know there's a lot of resellers who have their own services department in-house, and depending on how they're set up, it limits them to how many devices they can do at any one time. What I can say is from the amount of ways that we've modeled it out, because of the way ours is set up, it is always more cost effective to allow D&H to do it. Matt Rose, is the bench US based? So our service, the ProServe integration team is in our Harrisburg warehouse. So any devices you get, nothing has to go out to Canada or come in from Canada. Our integration center is in Harrisburg, PA at our flagship warehouse. So no need for that. If you're wondering, well, what if I have customers in Canada? Then that would be a D&H Canada where the service would be done up there. If you ever do have a customer who does have a Canadian tenant, please tell us that up front, as the tenant access link to provide autopilot in Canada is different because it's a different country with different laws. All right, Scott Bemister, how is the software installed? Does it need Intune? So Scott, because of we're doing it as a white glove service, from the way I'm understanding your question, that would be the $12 SKU that we're doing. And because of the resources that we have, we're doing it all through the Microsoft Partner Center for all of those devices at once. So we're not having, so D&H isn't having to do it through Intune because of the way we load the device into the tenant and the way that we're pulling down the end user's Microsoft end user tenant or end user profile. Eddie Bezalel, what if the end user is not exclusively D&H for 365? Doesn't matter. We want you to get all your stuff from us, but if you got it from somebody else in the past, irrelevant. That has no impact on D&H uploading those devices to their tenant, no matter where they got their Microsoft 365 subscription. What's important is that they have the subscription that's proper for the Autopilot service of A3 or A5 or E3 and E5. Again, nothing boxed or perpetual. Abdul, lots of great questions. Do we pay the same amount if the device is purchased from D&H or another distributor? Absolutely. I don't discriminate where you get your product from. My priority is that you get your Autopilot through me. I want you to get all your devices from us, but the reality of the business is if there's a rebate or there's an inventory issue, sometimes you got to do what you got to do. But Autopilot, there's no limit on it. It's vapor product. You can come to us with everything you've got. We will load it just like it came out of our own warehouse. Joseph. Regarding your question on Microsoft Office or the 365 licensing for Autopilot, again, as long as you, for academic, if it's A3 or A5, or if it's for education, E3 or E5, that's as long as you have those, you're fine. To get Autopilot, again, it just doesn't work on the boxed product of Office, meaning perpetual. Scott Schuster, what are the prices of Office 365? That is something that you'd have to go to our modern applications team. If you want to email me or if you want to email modern applications at dnh.com, the team can pull up your account and your partnership and pricing and give you all that for you. Dave Douglas, regarding your question, if that was for imaging. It doesn't really create an image with Autopilot. I see that you may do imaging in-house. So if you've got 500 machines, if you're not changing any of the current operating system, meaning you're taking the Windows 11 Pro as is from the manufacturer, all we're doing is uploading that device into the tenant. We're not changing anything on the image. We're not removing any bloatware. As far as, for say, 500 machines, the benefit to you is allowing D&H to upload those. Whether we're loading 1 or we're loading 500, it's the same lift for us. So it's easy enough for us to look. That's the benefit you'll get, is the time, money, and expense and resources versus attempting to do it internally. Carl DePrado, who would you contact? If you've not used the Microsoft yet, feel free to email me or give me a call. Again, my phone number is 800-877-1200, extension 2749. Or you can email lcatalano, LCATALANO, at dandh.com. And I can help you get you with Autopilot or potentially correct any subscriptions that you may have to accommodate the Autopilot service. Mark Rush, your question about standard or business premium, as long as it's E3 or E5, you're fine. Diane, regarding your question on the Office 365 SKUs, that is something that I'd have to defer that to the Modern Applications team in regards to licensing. If you email modernapplications@dnh.com, they could better answer what your current subscription services are, and if there's any interference with that. Let's see, Peter Zakor, I believe. Does it work with Business Premium and Business Basic? Premium, yes. I don't believe it works with the Basic. Brian Quinn, if you're trying to understand it, think of it this way. My internship in college, quite a few years back, I used to set up devices manually. And, back in the day, and I hate to date myself this way, you'd have a stack of floppy disks trying to install an app. And setting up a new machine would take hours. And then even if you fast forward, any organization, when you get a new hire, you got somebody from IT usually spending 1 to 2 hours over somebody's shoulder asking them their password 20 times. With Autopilot, there's no need to do anything on-prem. It's something that we can do remotely. And once the device system information is loaded into the tenant, the end user logs in with their credentials. The first time they boot it up, it takes a few minutes to just kind of run through everything and make all the applicable changes. But again, they don't have to expose their password, and it's a lot faster. If you want to have a separate call with me, or Brian, if you'd like to do a training, let me know. I'm happy to accommodate. Brian Quinn, regarding your question, will it work for imaging to not load applications? So again, because of the way the imaging is done, I'd probably bring an engineer on there to determine on how you're doing your imaging, what apps you're using. That could determine how it would be done. We do have a great new tech engineer resource, Richie. If you'd like, I'll bring him on the call. We can go over how your current imaging process is doing, and then determine what applications we're loading. In terms of Autopilot, the applications we're loading are all attached to the user profile within your tenant. So that's what's going to determine what we're loading, or even what the end user would be loading once they assign the user profile to the device. Again, different people may have a different access. In a school organization, you could have administrative staff, teachers, and students. That's going to be 3 different profiles. So it depends on who the device is going to. Oscar, am I sending the webinar by email? Absolutely. We should have everybody's email when they registered for the webinar. I will send this out to everybody. In doing so, I will also include my one-pager that kind of outlines all of the processes for us. It'll have all my contact, and I'll include our Microsoft One deck. That is a deck that we created internally here at D&H. Not only does it cover any contact information that you would need from me, it includes everything and anything that you could possibly need at D&H Microsoft team. So whether you have anything with server, client, Surface devices, our cloud team, anything with licensing, our educational, or server, it's got everything in there. We made a very conscious effort to make it easy to follow. We've got hyperlinks in it, so don't panic when you see an 80-page PDF. It's actually very easy to navigate. And again, you've got 12 different groups in there in that slide deck, so it's easy to follow, and it'll give you everything you need to have a more positive, productive engagement with D&H, Microsoft team. All right, it appears we got everyone's questions. Again, my name is Lauren Catalano. Email is lcatalano@dnh.com. My extension is 2749 if you want to reach out and call. We'll give you the deck for anybody who's got to just kind of review anything. I notice it can be a lot. If there's anything else, please feel free to reach out to me. Thank you.